For parking, yeah.
Whenever they have events at the Riverside Park, I just sit over to the roads and make sure nobody parks there. But now you put the signs out, what, 3 years ago, something like that?
We've done it every year, but
But they're permanent now.
no.
They're still out there. I think they're still out, but.
We put a lot of temporary ones all up the streets there, but I can put them back up. I didn't talk to Eric, the daily people do now, but they got plan for parking, but.
We haven't had a problem there. Anytime those signs go out,
Yeah.
and if I sit there for like an hour, just so people drive by and see me.
Right.
we don't have any trouble parking.
Or they got the report, their monthly report today. You know, the monthly report, they got that today.
Okay.
It was in my,
The emails?
in the stuff. Oh, it was actually on my chair this morning.
Oh, their own.
Sure, you want to talk?
I don't have anything. It's like every month, I really don't have much. Unless you want me to talk about that speed enforcement, that, speed trailer we had out there that I talked about last 2 weeks ago. We finally pulled it, and I can talk about the results a little bit if you want.
Yeah, we can put you right at the beginning here. And
Okay.
just update everybody on that, I
And
think.
is your boss critiquing you? Sorry.
Every time.
Every time and all the time. That's not fair that he's got such a nice boss, though.
Who said that?
I did.
Thanks.
I
Got
got
here,
7.
yeah, got here early and I'm still scrambling to the last second, but I suppose let's get her going, huh?
Yep.
It is 7. Mic check. Are we on?
Check.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Vernon Village Board meeting. Today is Thursday, May 5th, 2022 at 7 p.m. I will call the Village Board to order with the Pledge of Allegiance and a standing moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Roll call and open meeting law compliance check.
President Carl Fortner.
Present.
Trustees Jim Swanee.
Present.
Daniel DeGrave.
Present.
Dylan Newman.
Present.
Lorene Dashik. Mr. President, note for record, you do have a quorum of your village board. Also note for the record that John Henneberry, our DPW director, is here. And also note for the record that Ward Hollingsworth is also here. And Captain Rasul, his boss, is here also. Mr. President, the agenda was posted inside and outside the village hall on the village's website, and you're in full compliance with the open meetings law.
Thank you. I will announce a possible closed session. Number 4 on the agenda, consideration and possible action on a motion to convene into executive session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85(1)(c), considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically Village of Vernon Clerk Administrator, Vernon Fire Chief, DPW Director, Recreational Director, and Treasurer, and Wisconsin statutes 19.851(e), deliberating of negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically, a potential cooperative plan between the villages of Vernon and Mukwonago, and the Terra Consulting Group request for Verizon proposed fiber installation dated April 5, 2022, and B, potential amendment to the land lease agreement dated April 18, 1997, as amended in 2016. In closed session will be the Village of Vernon Board of Trustees. Motion will require a roll call vote. No action will be taken in closed session. Number 5, public comments. We have no members of the public physically present, so we will go to number 6. But the Sheriff's Department is here, and unless there's an objection, we'll deviate from the agenda and have the Sheriff's report early. And Deputy Hollingsworth, you can tell us about the speed and any other matters you'd like to.
Really, the only thing, I brought it up 2 weeks ago at the last board meeting, that there was a
Word.
speed trailer.
Can you sit there, dear?
Speaking of that,
Thank you, sir.
pretty loud.
Well, they like to see your face.
You don't need
There you go.
Right. So a couple weeks ago, at the last meeting, I brought up that the speed trailer had been placed on National Avenue in between Scotland and Hilo because of several complaints the sheriff's department got through email of people traveling at excessive speeds. It's been placed in both the eastbound and the westbound lanes. I have done hours of traffic enforcement there for the last month. And after the readout was checked out today by one of the other day shift deputies, we found that the average speed was between 30 and 40 miles per hour. So there really isn't a problem there. There were some anomalies of around 70 miles an hour. However, that's most likely caused by squads and responding to emergency calls with lights and sirens. So otherwise, that is it. That's what we have found with the speed issue on National Avenue.
Well, that's good.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any questions? Back to patrol. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay safe, guys.
I will not be around next week,
I heard that.
so there'll be somebody filling in for me, hopefully.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, first up on the agenda is the donation of a batting cage for the Village of Vernon. We have a resident who's willing to, or wishing, or wanting to donate a batting cage, which is really I think, John, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's just a frame and netting. That's what batting cages usually are. Unfortunately, Mike Zalecki, our rec director, who has been arranging this and had an email, and you know, our clerk administrator checked in with our insurance carrier, but Mike is not here, so I'm not sure if we have enough information or if people have questions specifically for Mike. And John, you raised some very valid concerns, and I don't know if those ever got resolved with Mike or not. And then I drafted a sample motion trying to capture, our attorney's concerns and the insurance company's concerns. I thought the insurance company's email there's some good tips in there. Yeah, about a sign and, maybe posting some rules down wherever it is. You had concerns about the water drainage, and obviously that's a big concern, simply because of the drainage. And then second, if the water is ponding in the batting cage, no one's going to use it, so.
Yeah, you'd have to come up with some place to put it, I guess, and we did have one down there previously, years
Right.
ago, between the two fields, and,
Right.
it was torn out,
Yeah, that would have been, I know it was there in the 2000s, maybe,
yeah, it was before.
20,
my time, but
2000, 2010, in that area. I don't know when it was torn out, but I know when my daughter was in the rec programs, it was always there, so.
Which park was it in?
Right down here,
Oh.
between the
it was
baseball
between the two-
diamonds.
Between the
right
two
here.
fields down there.
Okay, because it wasn't there when when my kids were in that, but that was like
Before that.
before that.
Did everyone see the email that came in at about 3:30 today
From Mike?
from Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had answers for some of the questions, but I think the open issues were still some questions that the insurance company asked or suggested. Is this like a pitcher and a batter? So two people in a cage at one time?
I honestly don't know anything about it.
That's why we need it, Mike.
You know,
So I suppose, I don't want to turn, if the resident is willing to donate it, I don't want to just table it and not take it. But on the other hand, if we can't use it or use it, then the resident may find a better home for it. And so I don't want to take something we can't use or it's just not going to work out. So I'm not sure where to proceed other than table and get Mike here in 2 weeks.
I'm just
Where
concerned
he stands
sometimes,
with the resident though.
sometimes those nets, if they're not taken down, in the wintertime, they don't last, you know.
Well, you're going to have
You
to
get
take
too-
it down.
Yeah, I know,
You're gonna
and that's
have
why I
to.
said it's more maintenance and stuff for us to take care of, and
Mike said he'd take it down
Right.
and put it up. I mean, that was what he says in his email.
we'll see how long that lasts.
Well, and then there's the cost of installing it. You're gonna have to have concrete footings, I would think.
I would think so, yeah.
Otherwise, it might start tipping or blow away or whatever.
And that's part of what we just tore out down there was the old concrete posts that were, they saws all the posts off.
Sawed off the metal post and left the concrete.
Yeah, and I was part of that, digging those out, and so that's why I knew we just got done taking one out.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to it, I'm just, you know, there was just some issues that I think need to be looked at.
Yeah, I'm not sure which way to proceed. I don't wanna lose a donation that we could use, but on the other hand, if there's a lot of open issues, I'm not sure that can be resolved. I mean, it was there once before,
And I know,
and there might be there might be better places for it. Maybe at Heather Ridge, I don't know.
well, I mean, maybe we could find a flatter spot down there for it somewhere too, off to the side, I suppose, too, you know? Doesn't have to be where the other one was, technically. Because that is kind of a swale there between the two fields, the water. That's why I don't know if that's really a good spot for it, you know, so. In my opinion, I think it should be moved off to one side or another. Oh, probably towards that east field above that, it's a little drier up there.
Right, I think they just need it behind the chain link fence so that it doesn't interfere
Yeah,
with games. Or having a kid run into it, chasing a
Right,
foul
right.
ball or something.
yeah.
Well, the resident approached him on April 11th. So it's not like it's an old request. So that's when the resident approached Mike.
We could accept it, and if we determine that we can't keep it here because of insurance issues or something of that nature, then we could donate it or give it back to him too, you know.
But then you've already spent the money on putting footings in.
I didn't say put it in, you know,
Oh, accept it.
you're right.
Right, okay.
With the intent to put it in unless the insurance company
Yeah.
says no. There's an option. Because I'm kind of in favor of it, you know, that kind of a thing. It's not going to cost us an arm and a leg because the
Right.
footings aren't.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty.
And I
pretty
know
affordable.
he's, you know, he's got them select teams down there. They're a little more advanced than your regular park and rec teams are, you know, so they would probably use it
They would probably use it more so
quite a bit, yeah,
than rec teams.
yeah.
And we have cameras now that if there's any sassiness, we can record sassiness that we never had
I don't know
before.
if we can get in that area, but we could make something happen, yeah.
And the insurance company said a lot of communities have these in their parks, so it's not
It's not a big ask.
Right.
Right.
Where would the cost for install in the budget be charged to? There's probably some, can't be that much money.
No, I have equipment, I have an equipment budget for park and rec, you know.
And you just have bags of cement, probably.
Yeah, I'll drill some holes and we got a post driller auger for the skid loader, so yeah, it wouldn't take nothing.
Right, just some time.
And the signage is no big deal. We do signage all the time for when people are renting facilities or
Right.
when COVID hits. Do
Would
lots
we
of signage.
charge, like the select teams for it, to use it?
Yes. They've already paid for the use
For
of
the
the
fields.
fields.
For the field.
But what about for the batting cage?
That's a freebie.
Freebie this year, maybe. Well, I don't know how you enforce,
Yeah.
you know.
In fact,
Of course, it is totally different.
the person making the donation is from the select team. His kids are now, his children are now grown and,
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, John, do you think you can work out the issues with Mike as far as getting it, where to install it and
Yeah, we could probably come up with something.
I'm sure we can come up with the signage. Well, you see my sample motion. I mean, I tried to cover the whole gamut in there about everything that needed to be covered, but I mean, I don't even know that we necessarily have to accept it conditionally, although we could, I suppose.
Yeah.
My original concern was like some of those have like pitching machines and stuff into them. And that's where I was worried
Right.
about the electric. You know, I was asking about, are we gonna have to run power over there and stuff? Well, now
Yeah, it's just the netting.
if it's just a net and a cage,
Yeah,
it's pretty harmless, you know what I
Right.
mean? So,
right,
and it's a lot less of an insurance issue too if there's no,
right.
pitching machine. Dan, you got any discussion you're looking?
Nope,
Ellen,
I'm,
Rain? Jim, what do you think?
Well, I'm in favor of it, so I'll make a motion. Let's see, what do I want to see here?
I tried to cover everything so you could read it.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand one part in the
Okay.
motion where you say install and/or remove. You know, that part I didn't quite understand, but I'd like to see us accept the donation for the batting cage. I don't know that we need any more than that, other than to direct the clerk administrator to thank the person that's providing it.
Right, and the attorney says just make sure, create a written record of the donation and the understandings regarding the same. So we can keep the motion short, and then
and I can do both of those, Jim.
I can read into the record that what Macy and the insurance company wants to cover. So,
Yeah, I didn't see anything from Macy on that.
he just said, make sure that, a written record of the donation and the understanding regarding the same, regarding ownership, repair, storage, et cetera.
And that'll be real easy to draft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Discussion? So under discussion, I would say that, the understanding with the Village of Vernon is that it will own it, and it's in its sole discretion, can install it, remove it, repair it, maintain it, not repair it, maintain it, take it down, store it, take it down for the season, and really control the use and all the regulations or rules regarding it. And also our insurance company on May 3rd, 2022 had a email with some recommendations regarding inclement weather, signage, the rules that should be posted, and I think between, the clerk administrator's office, John and Mike, Park and Rec, that the staff could come up with the appropriate signage based on that email, and John, your guys would do the install. And obviously, you can send out a thank you,
I'll do a real
words of
smushy one.
service and-
Real smushy one from the board.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Village approval, or Village of Vernon Employment Manual. 2 weeks ago, we tabled it for further information. One of the items, I think, was the effective date of the PTO and the transition in between old system and new system.
Yeah, I have another thought on that, an additional thought on that. I'd like to see us approve the manual with an effective date, can be approved tonight as an example, but an effective date of January 1 of 2023. That way it would give us between now and then to have a meeting, or maybe two, depending on what it takes, with the DPW workers, because they're really the only ones that are really affected by it, by this PTO issue, okay? So that they understand what it's all about. And it gives you time to make any other changes that comes up, which we can do whenever, we do that with the current one if something comes up,
Especially at budget time.
especially at budget time. That's when the issues might come up.
Correct.
That was one of the issues, okay, was the implementation. That would also give time for John and I to work out exactly how we're gonna, I made that one spreadsheet that works automatically, but I'd have to have that set up for John to run that and to keep track of everything the way we'd have to. So that gives us time to work in that process, and starting it effective the first of the year makes the transition really pretty simple. Because there basically is no difference between what we're saying now in the PTO and what they have, with one or two minor exceptions. One being that they can start, that they have, like when a new employee starts, he's already got the PTO hours, so he can take some time off, just not during his probationary period. That was one of the issues. I did check into the original employee manual, and the comp time portion of PTO was limited to a max of 40 hours. Now, I remember asking this question once before, John, I just don't remember the answer. I had it unlimited in the current version up until today, actually, when I went back and checked this. But it says, let's see, it says specifically that it's limited to 40 hours, 40-hour basis. But it says 40 hours per calendar year. And the question was, if the guy in June already has 40 hours in and uses 20 hours of it, now he's down to 20, can he earn another 20, so it's always capped at 40?
Except for John's the only, you have an exemption.
I've always kept it, you have 40 hours, and that's all you get. You go up to 40 hours, you can't keep reloading it. So you get 40 and that's it. That's the way it's been since I've been here.
Right.
Is that the way you want it?
Well, if it was up to them, they would probably want to keep reloading it. That's just the way it's been since I've been here.
Right.
And John's always paid out. If there was any ambiguity in regards to something banked, it was paid out, so it was gone.
Yeah, at the end of the year, when these guys take vacation or time off, I'll use the comp time up first.
Right.
And then I'll try and go to vacation or unless it's a personal issue, but obviously if you you roll that all together, it wouldn't matter anyway.
Right, it really doesn't matter, because it's not gonna change the amount of time that they have coming, you know. Okay, so in the actual document, I made actually two changes. One on page 34, which is directly below, it's bullet I, which is directly below the chart of the number of days off or hours off that they get for vacation time. It previously said after 13 years, the maximum PTO was capped at 208 hours. That's not really true. So that was actually not an accurate statement, because on top of that, that's just straight vacation time. On top of that, they can earn an additional 40 hours, up to an additional 40 hours. So I struck the part of the sentence that says an employee can accrue in the year is capped at 208. I struck that and added the maximum PTO hours per pay period an employee can accrue is capped at 8 hours, which is what they would get per pay period after 13 years. So that'll never increase, which is how it works. Technically, that's how it works today, except for it's not by pay period, it's just the total number at 208.
President, can I make a motion?
Can I finish? That was just the first change.
Well, can we table this because you talked about working that out later with John,
No,
PTO.
no, you misunderstood something.
Sorry.
And then on section O,
The changes? No, I don't think it did.
Just wanna make sure Dylan had a copy of the employment manual.
it's on-
I have a
on
copy
the-
of the employment manual, but I don't think I have a copy of the changes. Is it on
No, you
DOD?
don't, because they haven't been approved. I haven't.
He's just
Oh.
stating a
Ditto.
no.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm looking at the employment manual right now.
But in that section, on page 35, under paragraph O, which is part of the previous section, I eliminate, it says DPW employees have the ability to accrue a maximum of 40 hours of additional PTO hours per year in lieu of taking over the overtime pay. So that's one thing. That sentence wasn't in there, that it was capped. So I capped it at 40 hours, which is how it is today. And then I added a better clarification of the example where a man works a full week with a total of 60 hours in, chooses to get paid for his 40 hours of straight time, and wants the 20 hours of overtime, because I said it was a Saturday or whatever. In this example, the manager, in this case John, would take the 20 hours, multiply it by time and a half, and book a total of 30 hours of PTO time, which is the current process. I also said, if this happened to be on a holiday or a Sunday, instead of time and a half, it would be double time. That's the only changes I've put into it since January, I think.
If they work a full day and they work at night.
8 hours?
Yeah, I mean, they put in a 40-hour,
No, it's just time and a half.
Right.
Sundays and holidays, we're just double time.
yeah.
Is that what you do now, John?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. After 40 hours in the week.
Actually, the original manual says 8-hour day,
8 hours, yes, after. 8
because
hours.
technically that's when overtime kicks in.
Correct.
But I
Under the
state,
law, it's over 40 hours a week, not 8 hours a day.
not anymore. I was told by the HR people that it's 8-hour day, you pay overtime.
That's the way we've always done it.
What did our labor attorney say about that? He's the one that wrote 40 hours a week.
Well, I had it in there, but he reviewed this whole thing and approved it.
Well, that's what I mean. He approved the 40 hours a week, not 8
Oh, yeah,
hours
no,
a day.
yeah, right. I just think it's wrong.
What's wrong?
40 hours a week.
You
I
think it's 8
it has
hours
to
a
be
day?
8 hours, anything over 8, which is how the original manual has it. But this manual says 40 hours a week, that they gotta have a full week in for that overtime for comp time, the PTO version of comp time. That's how you do it now. You're saying 8 hours, right?
8 hours.
Yeah, right.
At the 8-hour day. If we were coming at night, even if it could be Tuesday, it would still be time and a half.
Right. That's the way I think it should be, but,
Yeah, that's the way we've always done it, that's the way it's been.
That's how the timesheets read too, Jim.
yeah. I brought it up once before and was told that was wrong. So,
Told what was wrong?
8 hours.
I was gonna say, I'm
By
looking
who?
at
By
the
lawyer-
Department of
lawyer?
Workforce
No, but you-
Development website
This
for
isn't the first time
Wisconsin.
you've questioned that.
I questioned it because our labor lawyer approved
They
40
just
hours a
ignored it
week.
anyways.
Yes.
That's the only reason I question it, because he's the lawyer. And that's the way it was in here that he approved.
Right.
So if it was wrong, then he's either right or he's
That's why I
wrong,
left it at 40 hours, is because
because he approved it.
he approved it.
And it is at 40 hours, but if the law requires 8 hours, then we should change it to if the law
If the
allows,
law,
requires it, I should say.
Now, my
allows it,
HR people
requires
said
it.
8 hours.
Mr. President, Trustee Newman has a
Yes.
comment.
I'm looking at the Department of Workforce Development for Wisconsin's website, and it is 40 hours. It's not by any daily limit.
Yeah. Our HR people don't say that, don't agree with that evidently, because they're the ones that brought that question to me up originally.
Isn't that kind of unfair, though, if somebody works an 8-hour day and then they work 6 hours at night and come back to an 8-hour day? And I mean, that they would work straight time?
If they
Now,
got
maybe
Friday,
if-
if they got Friday off, yes, it would be
They
a
never
straight
get, they've never taken a day off.
If you
But
work,
the employer could say you got Friday off.
Oh, yeah, that's
To
true.
prevent the overtime being paid. Yes.
A lot of companies do 10 days.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, a lot of companies do a
4/10s.
4-day work week.
Or they manage their overtime and say, well, you guys have been working, 6 hours extra on Tuesday and 3 on Wednesday. Everybody gets Friday off.
Well, semi drivers are limited, and these guys could work day and night. The law doesn't, I mean, a
that's a
snowplow.
different issue.
I know, but it's,
Yeah.
sorry,
That has something to do with the different law,
right, that's true.
not whether it's.
Okay, can I make a motion?
if you have to.
Yes.
Can I make a motion?
Are you done with your, okay. But we had to hear from,
I understand.
okay. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Village of Vernon Employment Manual effective January 1st, 2023, as presented by the Human Resource Committee. With the understanding this is a working document and subject to change and modifications as needed to be consistent with board-approved policies and actions.
Is there a second?
Second,
Discussion? You made the motion, we'll start there. Jim, you had?
And I-
Go to you again if.
I think this motion would cover exactly what Jim was talking about, that we have budget issues that may come up with regard to budget, with regard to this PTO time that you're constantly working out here. And hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have some of those issues worked out. But at least my intent was to approve what Human Resources has presented at this point.
Jim, any?
yeah, this, like I say, I think this is, as far as the PTO part goes, mimicking exactly what we're doing now, with the one exception, the plus side is that we're stuck now with with some PTO that you can use in your first year of employment. And the downside is, we're saying overtime after 40 hours, as opposed to after 8 hours, like what you had said originally. And I think the logic to that is, if you work a 12-hour day on Monday and don't work, call in sick or for whatever reason, you don't get a total of 40 hours in, your pay is going to be for however total many hours you put in. And if it's less than 40, you don't have any overtime coming. But if you work the whole week and you had 40 hours in plus your 4 that you had on the first day, then you get 4 hours of overtime. Just because you worked 4 hours of overtime in one day out of the week doesn't, in my mind, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get paid overtime for those hours if you don't work a full work week. So I think we've got it right in the book that way. It's just that our HR people took exception to it and said that should be over 8 hours, because that's how it's getting paid.
It'd be a hard sell to my guys, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I wonder if they ever actually even have that issue. Do they ever get overtime during the week where they don't get a total of 40 hours in?
Never seen that.
I mean, sometimes if you take off, if you can take off.
But if they take off legitimately, that's counted as work hours.
Yeah. just take off.
So then they'd have their 40 hours in.
Right. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, yeah, it's never really happened. They're not getting 40 hours. So.
Right.
Mr. President, was there a second to that motion? Forgive me.
Yeah,
What's that?
Jim seconded. the
Okay, I
motion.
just
Oh, I'm
wanted,
sorry.
Trustee Newman, discussion.
I think we're on the right track, and I mean, I don't see why we can't approve it. And if we need to go back and touch some things up, we can do that. My understanding is overtime is mostly winter, right? So I mean, we got some time.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. And as it happens during the winter, most of the guys can't take time off anyhow for the first 3 months of the winter.
Yeah. The only issue that I even had with it was the getting PTO on top of time and a half before, but I think we pretty much settled or realized we were all on the same page last meeting, right?
Well, I thought so. I mean, that is how it is. They're either getting paid for overtime or they get overtime hours off. That's how it actually is today.
But the point is, they don't earn PTO hours based on overtime
Right.
hours. That's the point. And you say we're on the same page. I think under as written, they would. In practice,
They do.
now, they don't. Their vacation is per year based on their anniversary.
Right.
Whatever it is, they get it. It doesn't matter if they work 1 hour of overtime during the year, or 100, or 200. They get the exact same number of vacation days.
We're not talking vacation days. We're talking
And-
comp time days, hours.
And, no, we're not. We're talking about how PTO hours are calculated, Jim. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you
And
don't
that's what
understand PTO hours then. I'm telling
Yes, I
you.
do.
208 hours is what they get for vacation, max, if they have 13 years in. That doesn't change. That stays exactly the same. Today, if they work overtime, he'll put in time and a half hours into his log of the PTO, up to 40 hours.
It was the comp time.
Yes, for the comp time. And they're getting that paid now. They don't get paid that, they get time off. And that's how comp time works.
Right, that's comp time. I'm not talking about comp time.
PTO replaces sick days, comp time, vacation days.
Why are we changing anything?
Well, no. Comp time is just a subset of PTO.
I don't know what you're arguing about because that's exactly what I just said.
So it's the calculation of the number of PTO hours, PTO days and hours that you get. It's the computation that I have a problem with. That's the problem with that. That's
Well-
the problem I have. And you said we're gonna cap it under I, but the cap is if the guy's been here over 12 years or 13 years, and then it works, but all the way up to that, it doesn't. All I'm saying
Does,
is,
because every year it goes up. So it's not capped at year 3. It keeps going up to a maximum
so
of
it
8
doesn't-
hours.
Doesn't fix my issue.
Well, you're the one that brought it up just now, not me.
Right, so. Yes, John?
Yeah.
If we kept the comp time as comp time separate, this wouldn't be an issue with your calculations, right?
Oh, yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. The calculation, that, John, the way you do it now is you say, okay, this guy's coming up on his during the year, 6-year anniversary. So you load into his vacation account, which now it's gonna be called PTO, because PTO is gonna include, vacation and sick days too.
Right.
It's all gonna be lumped together. And, that's PTO, that's the concept.
Right.
You lump that all and you load it into his account on January 1st. Right now. Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if the guy works an hour, extra overtime, or 10 or 100.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And it doesn't matter if the guy chooses comp time. I know the guys all want their comp time. I get it. But there might be a guy who says, I'd rather have the money.
Right.
You probably have had guys
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't take any comp time.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you kept that out,
And that's their
allows
choice.
it.
That's
if you
fine.
kept that out of that calculation and kept the comp time separately, I guess that's my question. Would that
But
make a difference?
when it comes to the calculation, see, the calculation is going to be different now. The way I just described it is what you do now, right?
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, what you do now should be the same under the new way of calculating. And the new way of calculating is you take the hours worked and you multiply it by a factor. And you come up with an hour.
Multiply it by 1.5, period. You take the hours worked of overtime and multiply it.
No. That's not right, Jim.
Well, that's
I
not-
am talking not
Is
about
right.
comp time or overtime. I am talking about how to calculate PTO hours. And the PTO hours is gonna be, he works, and you multiply it by factor, right there. That factor, it comes up with a number, and that goes into his PTO bank. And you do it twice a month.
No. That's not what the manual says now or ever, and that's not how he's doing it today.
I agree with that. He's not doing it that way today. But
He's
how-
not doing what you just said. He's doing exactly what the book says today.
Right.
We're not using that column that you're pointing to.
Why not? It's here. You're taking this column out now?
Can I finish?
Yeah.
You're not using that column to do the overtime hours. If they got 20 hours of overtime, he multiplies that times time and a half, because we pay out at straight time. All PTO is paid at straight time, whatever their standard rate would be. So in order to get them paid the same amount that they would get if they took all cash, right, it's times 1.5 or 2 if it happened to be a holiday type of a thing. That factor that's listed there is only showing what you earn for vacation time. And it shows that every year after, the second year, I think, because I think you get 1 week and then you get basically it's like 1 day a week or 1 day a year.
1 week, another week, and then after that's a day a year.
Right. And so if you,
And that's the same.
right, and that's what that chart is showing you.
So if I'm understanding this right, the The only thing that you're talking about is when the calculation for overtime hours in PTO, they're just going to accrue and hit their maximum faster. But when they hit that cap, then it stops.
I'm not quite certain what you mean by that. So it's hard for me to say yes or no. But the issue is, we're not talking dollars, we're talking hours. And instead of paying time and a half cash, we're giving them time and a half hours. Because their PTO hours is paid in straight, so it's the same thing.
Okay, so it's either or though.
That's how it is, you know. It's the number of hours you work. And if you get paid in cash, it's times 1.5 for those hours. And it's the same thing here. Instead of multiplying the dollars, you're multiplying the hours by 1.5 or 2, you know, depending on how it works. So it's just like, exactly like how overtime works.
We're just talking right by each other, Jim, I can tell.
Well,
follow exactly
I honestly
everything
have
you
never
say.
understood.
We're just going right by each other.
Yeah,
You know, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
And I agree with what you're saying. All I'm saying is how this chart works. That's all I'm asking. And I don't understand it. So,
that's just showing you how your annual amount of vacation time is calculated.
but isn't there going to be an account? Right now, there's an account. It's loaded in right now on the first of the year, though, for the whole year. And if someone terminates during the year, they have unused, I don't care if it's sick days, vacation days, or comp time, they get paid. They get paid out in cash.
Yeah.
If they leave during the year. Under this new system, what happens? Aren't they accruing that not on the first of the year, but every pay period?
Every pay period. So they only get paid out what they earned.
Right, so if they terminate, let's say 6 months in,
Right,
and they would otherwise get, just pick a number, 152, they should be at 76.
right, exactly. And that's,
Minus what they used, and, yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so then it goes to, how did the 76 get calculated? On my example, right?
Right,
Right? And if there's no overtime, it's pretty easy. It's 80 hours every 2 weeks. You multiply it by the guy's factor, and 5 and 6, 0.0731, and after 6 months, he'll have 76,
right,
right?
right.
Right. So all I'm saying is, well, what if the guy works 100 hours a week for, a couple weeks in January, February, because it's snowing, right? So he builds up 60 hours of overtime, time and a half is 90.
We can
He
only
comp
build up
times
40.
40, he comp times
Oh, yeah.
40, and you cap him, so you're gonna cash him at 50, right? Cash him out at 50, and he gets it in his paycheck, right? After he builds up his 40 hours comp time, you pay him.
Yes.
Absolutely, you pay him in cash. Okay, so now in my example, what did I say? 60 hours of overtime, and he gets paid for 90, time and a half. Let's just forget about the double time. Time and a half, 90, okay? So now, he quits now July 1st, 6 months in. If you're just following the chart and multiplying it out, instead of multiplying it 80 times, whatever, 0.0731, there's 3 weeks where you multiply not 80, but 110. 3 weeks. And you're saying, no, that's not how you do it.
Right.
Okay. Just so it says that, then we are on the same page. And I'm saying that I wasn't clear to me. So
I
maybe
know
we
you
are.
questioned the
Yeah.
chart, but
Yeah. But you see my point there. Right? His PTO or vacation days are not based on the number of overtime hours. And Dylan, you raised, well, if it is, then it would go faster and you hit your cap faster, but you would hit it faster because you are gonna work overtime. There's no question about it. We're not gonna have a winter. Now, this winter was light and the overtime is low. If people looked at their budget, it's lower this year.
Oh, yeah.
Because we didn't have the big storms and the big ice. But January, well, you know, John, January and February is when you're gonna hit it. Maybe March, because we got some bad storms in March. But, you know, sure, it rolls over to November maybe, or December. But it's mostly January, February is the big overtime. But it could be March. But anyway, so that's to your point, was why you could hit your cap earlier. And what Jim's saying is, no, you just use regular time.
Right.
Okay, so if, as long as this is regular time only, that's fine. That was my only objection to
It
the
actually
chart, Jim.
says that, I think, a little further down towards the end of the PTO discussion, where it says something about it's always straight time.
But straight time is different than regular hours. Straight time, you could work 60 hours a week at straight time, but you're gonna get paid for 70, because 20 is gonna be time and a half. Or PTO, or comp time. But it's different. What you get paid for or what you comp time in the hours, to me, is different than the calculation of your PTO based on your pay period. And if it's capped per pay period at 80 hours, then it works, because that's what you do now. Because it doesn't matter if the guy works overtime, he gets the same number of hours of vacation.
As long as he gets, well, as long as it's by year anyhow, the vacation is how many, based on how many years of service you have. And then it's just worked ass backwards. Number of days, I broke it down to number of hours in a pay period. Divide that out, and that's what you actually earn of PTO hours per pay period.
Call the
You don't care
question.
about that number. Call the question. Did I hear call the question?
I heard it.
Thank you.
I have it recorded.
That's a request, call the question. That's a parliamentary rule. John, you got anything? Lorraine, we haven't heard from you.
Well, whoever's doing payroll better understand this, that's all I know.
Well, and the employees need to understand it too, but yes.
And you'll have a meeting with them.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I said. You have to go over it with these guys because they're gonna have questions and I'm not gonna be able to answer them, so.
Right. That's why I volunteered to.
Yeah, it's a change. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, everybody understand the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I oppose. Motion carries 4-1. All right. Correspondence, announcements and reports, moving along. Number 7, Village Board President. Plan Commission final review of Vernon zoning code. That will be on the Plan Commission's meeting. We're down to pretty much the final version, I think. The Plan Commission last meeting wanted to identify areas in the zoning code, and we wanted to take a look at, Jim, we wanted to take a look at what matters were going to be recommended by the Plan Commission to the board, and what matters could be decided by the Plan Commission. And we would have, the Plan Commission would have a recommendation to the board if any of that would change. I know at the board level, the board's gonna have final say, it's an ordinance, on how much they want, but
Because
The
the issue really was, the Plan Commission has expertise and knowledge on these things. So how much of that can the Plan Commission approve and not have to go to the board? Which,
yeah, that's the question, and the board will have final say-so on that.
yes,
But the Plan Commission, we thought, would make a recommendation with Sean on what items would go to the board, which items would stay and be decided at the Plan Commission. We'll have four to five different opinions, I'm sure.
yeah, not just Sean, we probably need to have Vince.
Vince is watching that document as you guys develop it, Jim.
Is he?
Yes.
Vince is
Yes.
looking at all the proposed changes as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And Mr. President, as you requested, this is going to be a document on the village board side and the plan commission side, because the plan commission might make a recommendation that the village board send this to legal review. So if the village board could either watch, or review that document, they've worked on it pretty substantially.
We've worked on it oh, I don't know how many meetings now.
Five.
At least 3, 5,
5.
yeah.
Wow.
But it's in, I think it's in pretty good shape for what the
Yeah.
direction the board gave the plan commission and our planner to do. It's not a complete rewrite, it's a targeted rewrite.
But it's a living document, just like that.
Right, it is. But I put it under my report just to give everybody a heads up that it's going to be coming. A couple of other items. I did hear from our fire chief. He thinks he might have sold the ambulance. That will be on our next agenda. It was not sold through the,
Wisconsin,
I forget the website again.
it's a Wisconsin surplus
Website. So,
website, yeah.
right, it was a private sale. Also in closed session, we talk, I need to update the board on a potential cooperative plan between the Village of Vernon and Mukwonago. We did have a meeting with Sean, myself, and representatives, the village president, planner, and administrator at the Village of Mukwonago. And that meeting went pretty well. It's very, very, very preliminary. Nothing was anywhere close to decided. We just had a discussion. So for the benefit of the public, this is the properties that we're talking about, and we've talked about these at Plan Commission. We've talked about these at the board. It's the property, it's the Hine property down on, not the corner, but on Edgewood Avenue
And National,
and National.
behind the storage sheds.
And going east on National, it's the property behind those storage warehouse,
Yeah,
self-rental places, or rental places, in the property next to those, further east on National. That's the properties we're talking about. It's where the old, I don't know, people call it a golf course, but it was more like a driving
Yeah.
range or
it's a par 6.
a
par three, yeah.
Pitch and putt is what I would call that, a pitch and putt course that was there. Hasn't been there for a long time, but that's what it used to be, and now there's apartments on part of it, condominiums up against it as well. So that's the property we're talking about. The property on National Avenue is currently for sale, as far as I know.
Yes, it is.
Yes, so if people are wondering, that's where it is. The developer, Newman, is looking at residential subdivision. So that's the report there. I think that's it for me. So we will, Trustee Slani, you want to go down this way?
The only thing I have is that we have a Human Resources meeting on
May 10th?
Tuesday, right? That's Tuesday the 10th, right?
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Trustee DeGrave. Nothing to report. Trustee Newman.
The only thing I've got is to follow up my comment 2 weeks ago is I think brush pickup is now in process, yeah. So that's all.
Trustee Dashik.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. We've heard from the sheriff. DPW, John.
Oh, like
Brush pickup.
brush pickup, yes, it started this week. It's been going pretty good. Actually, we got our new piece of equipment out with the grapple on it, converted over to the new piece of equipment. It seems to be working out pretty good. As far as of right now, I don't have a number on the stops, but we're still in the middle of it. But it's pretty average the way it looks. I thought at the first few days it looked like it was going to be down, and we start getting into some of these subdivisions, and all of a sudden it usually averages out. So it's there's plenty of piles, probably not as big of piles as there has in the past, but so we'll see, and then we'll see what next week brings with the nicer weather this weekend. Maybe we'll end up with a little more out there. So usually happens with the weather. We did some crack filling 2 weeks ago. Tried to get some done with the rain. Between the rain, it was just fighting with the weather nonstop here this spring. So with the water, we have had some issues with some ditches. Mostly a lot of plugged culverts from last 2 years. It's been so dry. And all of a sudden, we got a lot of leaves jammed in these culverts, and we get this rain, and people are complaining because they're plugged up. So just a little FYI, if you can get out there and unplug those culverts, it'd really help us a lot too. So Paving, trying to get a hold of Kurt again from Payable. They locked down a start date. He texted me today. He says we're looking at July. He said he was going to get back to me today with a date, and he has not. So I'm hoping early in July. Typically, we get started late June. So
How about Wolf over in Center?
I have not heard from them yet. We still have to have that contract signed with them, I think so.
Oh, okay.
So,
Got approved.
yeah. I don't think that should be a problem because it's a smaller job there, so. Next, May 18th, the Wednesday after next week, we will be I got the chipper schedule here for grinding all our brush. So if you guys want to come out, take a look at that or whatever in progress, it's going to be the Wednesday the 18th. And then I got a letter here saying that our LRIP grant was denied. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that was kind of a surprise for me. And I'm talking with McQuanigo and them, they were all under the assumption that was kind of a for sure thing too. So they weren't even sure if they were going to get theirs. He had to double check on his too. But so, because they had their meeting again in April and they said they had over, what do they say, 166 applications for this money. So and they basically granted 40 of them were the MSID and 22 went for the MSIS funding. So basically 62 out of the 166 projects they had to choose.
How about the Village of Big Bend?
I didn't hear. I was with,
Different LRIP grant than John applies for.
yeah. So unfortunately, I mean, when we were told earlier in the year that it was looking like we were going to get that $30,000.
Right.
And even when I talked to him from McQuanigo, he said the same thing. He goes, I thought we were all a shoe-in with $30,000. I said, yeah, I was under that assumption also. So obviously that changed. So other than that, that's about all I've got.
Questions for John? Treasurer report, Terry is ill.
I think he'll be here at the next meeting though.
And we did get some information in our packet.
And Carl, the Village of Big Bend's, that grant has been approved. We got that secured from the state and the county. So that LRIP grant for the village, that's a different type of L grant, but I just wanted to let the board know that that's approved. And John and I are gonna make some phone calls because I heard there's some additional funding.
What project was that LRIP?
There's two different types of LRIPs, MSI and,
Ours was the Sherry Avenue
What I
project.
was afraid of. We've already contracted to do that.
Yes. We've got the money to do it. It was just, this was basically supplemental. We've done this in the past. When we'll do our project, then we typically will get the funding usually after the fact. Well, because you have to have all the receipts and all this, whatever proof that you did it.
You have to tell them what project
Right, you have to tell them ahead of time what you're doing, and
And it
then
has to
they'll
be bid.
decide.
has to be big and it has to.
bid out, it has to be bid, public notice.
Right,
So he's done all that.
yeah.
But we're okay for our budget.
Oh, you're gonna,
On that
yes,
project.
you're gonna do,
Oh, yeah.
you'll be fine.
Sure,
Okay,
yeah.
We'll just run out next year
that's the big one.
and the year after.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. I mean, we borrowed money for these road projects. To the extent we can use grant money, that just means we can do more road projects the following year. That's just what that,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'll be fine, budget, because we do have the money. It's just that the money will run out sooner than we would have otherwise expected or
Yeah.
led to believe, or what the right word is there, but.
And I'm gonna make some phone calls tomorrow because we're just trying to finish the audit. John and I are gonna make some phone calls because I heard that there's another program that the applications have to be in by June 1st. So John and I are gonna check that out to see if we can write another grant. It might not be for Sherry, but, if we can get another road grant in on that additional money, we're gonna try that too.
Okay, clerk administrator's report, you're blending in. So
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to tell the board, remember I kind of warned you that we're going to get audited by the state of Wisconsin for our stormwater? And I had my surgery on Wednesday, and all day Friday I was on the phone with the DNR with our first part of the audit. It went really, really well, and I can tell the board, the state was extremely pleased that the board is redoing their stormwater report. They're going to engage the public in stormwater responsibilities. But they're going to come out, and there's a second phase of another 8 to 12 hour part of that audit that they're going to do. But the first part went very, very well. I just wanted to let the board know and thank you, board, for updating that stormwater report. And John's got great records on what we do in regards to stormwater reporting. We have good information there. Howard Jeanson, and I just emailed that report to you this evening. He filed our municipal report, which was due on the 15th of May. It was just filed this evening, so I just want to let the board know. We also secured the 2 dates. The village board's going to meet on May 26th, just at 1:15, just to go through the formalities of Board of Review, and it's going to adjourn Board of Review to July 26th. That's when you're going to actually have your Board of Review, and the books will be available on July 7th. So we're going to get that all in the newsletter, but if your constituents ask you, hey, where's this information? Everything's going to be online on July 7th, and I'm making notes of things that I think that we need to watch out for from the board level to make sure that assessment role is doing well. And like I said, the audit is now completed, and everything else is going well. That's all I have.
Questions? On to finances. Accounts payable. And if our rec director was here, he could explain the $20 refund issue.
Right, we had a lot of parents there was 19 kids on the soccer team, and they were not happy, so Mike had thought, well, if he just gave each family a $20 credit, because the kids you can't play 19 kids in a soccer game very often, so that's what Mike offered the parents, is a $20 refund towards their $67 fee for playing soccer.
And the other question
And the Fourth bill.
The Fourth bill, everybody got the detail on that. That wasn't in your packet.
That wasn't in the packet. It was,
And it got sent out later. The conversion from Market Drive.
and they paid that bill. I just want the board to know that, remember when they talked about that, we billed them, in your APs, you have a bill from Market Assessments for like $1,300. And I emailed that to Chris when we did the email, and he already sent the check in. So I just wanted to assure the board that he said that's how it would happen. We would have to pay them, and they'd reimburse us as soon as they got the check, and he did. So it'll go in the bank on Friday.
Okay. I misunderstood you then.
Yes.
When you said Accurate paid the bill, I thought they sent it in directly to the vendor.
No, the vendor
We
didn't.
should take it out of AP.
Yeah, no, the vendor wanted us to pay the bill. He didn't want the check from that other assessor. So we did what Market Assessment asked us to do. The village paid that bill, and then I invoiced our new Accurate Assessment, and like I said, Chris mailed a check right away. So we have been reimbursed for that.
Okay.
But we should pay the bill.
When we get checks like that in, where do we see that, after the fact,
You know,
It's not like when we approve APs, we see the invoices
Right.
that
yeah,
we're paying, but where do we see it when something like that comes in?
it's mixed in a deposit, but I want to email you. I used to always send you guys, well, maybe not this board, but our franchise fees, because it's like 50 grand, and some of those Boomba ones. Maybe we can put that in a deposit. I know you care, but the bigger ones, like this one, I'm sure you'd like to see some of those franchise fees, the cell tower rents. We'll create like a deposit report or,
Well, we've seen, like on this particular one, at least 2 emails, maybe 3, on the subject, but never really, in my mind, I don't ever see the resolution, like, okay, we got paid.
right, that check just came in. So we can, scan it to the board
Yeah.
so you can see. I just wanted to announce, because you're paying that bill, and I wanted to announce that Chris made that payment pretty
Right.
quickly.
Yeah. Well, it sounded like that was his intent right from the giddy up, in his
Right.
first email or second email about it.
And I think they assumed that the conversion would be much simpler, but there was 17 years of information that I'm sure the village board didn't want to lose any. Some of it's pretty substantial. So market assessment captured all that information for accurate to keep in their log also, along with the assessment information.
Okay, other questions on these? Those are my questions, really, the $20
And I'm sorry I missed.
and the market drive conversion. And I did note that we have one $20 refund. I think the person's name is misspelled.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I gave Jim a little ticket there, a little sticky on it. This would be this one. He's got his name on there with an A, C-A-S instead of C-O-S.
Oh, it's Costi. Wouldn't that be Costi?
Yeah,
Yeah,
C-O-S.
yes.
I know we just issued one where we had a misspelled.
And
first
Forest
name
Home
the
is
last
spelled
time.
wrong. We'll get that corrected.
So we can approve it, but it will be, we can approve it, but this check here will be, should I write void on it right away?
Right. And we'll get it, the correct address and the correct resident.
Okay. Okay, other questions? Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to approve accounts payable batch 20220505 in the amount of $50,248.32. Yes, that's what I said.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-2. Okay. Annual check.
There was only one,
$16.74.
but we got an email from Connolly
I don't understand comments.
I always do the absentee notice for 10 municipalities. And I don't know how it got lost, but it's
So this would
for,
have been from February or something?
Right.
Or, yeah, February?
right, I mean, she re-emailed it today. It's for $242.98. And out of that, we charge back $218.70 to the other municipalities, and our charge is $24.28. And they all pay us for this, but we've been doing this for years.
Okay.
It saves a lot of money. Otherwise, each community has to do this individually. And
But they
each,
have to do it anyhow because they have to pay us, right?
oh, but it's a lot cheaper. If you do it by, like when we did it for, individually for our own, it's like $50-some a piece. A piece.
Oh, okay.
So the more municipalities we get in on it, the cheaper it is for everyone.
So what's the manual check on this?
It's for $242.98
cents.
and the $16.74 for a total of $259.72. It's on the purple page.
Right. 242.98, so we're adding that to Conley. It's a good thing we amended that ordinance about paying other municipalities' bills.
Yeah, but we had that changed years ago because this was being done, I mean, not in the amount.
Aaron, this was it was being done a long time ago, but that ordinance says you couldn't do it. Now it does.
Right, yes. That's
That was
correct.
my point.
Yes, that's correct.
Jim's smiling. Okay, so we have two manual checks. One to Capital One in the amount of $16.74, and the other to Conley Media in the amount of $242.98 for a total of $59.72.
Two.
I'll make a motion to approve the checks. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. ACH. Transactions, so. We have a dollar amount on those, I'm trying to find it. Which I can't find.
I'm going in my packet now.
Somebody has a dollar amount, say it. I don't have don't have it right in front of me for some reason. I don't know where. Going to my packet to find it.
It is 167,977.63. There were 3 payrolls in this ACH.
Right, 3 payrolls. And our regular ACH withdrawals. So
Right,
we're looking to approve March ACH in the transactions in the amount of $167,977.63.
that's correct. March 2022.
Yep. March 2022 ACH transactions in the amount of $167,977.63,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, that's correct.
There's one there. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 2022 Aging Accounts Report, that's for your information. I don't think we need to take any action on that today. March 2022 Financial Report, that was also in your packet for your information. No action to be taken on that item. Is there discussion on those items? Dan, you're looking at me. You want to discuss those items?
Shocking, I say.
Well, I'm just curious why we're looking at March financial statements and we're now in May. And then when I look at some of the departments, and not to single out fire department, but that was the easiest one to look at. If we look at just the quarter, it looks like we're going to have a significant shortfall in our budget, both on the revenue side and also if you extrapolate the expenses, because they're spending a lot of money. And I would just like to know whether or not the fire department gets a copy of their budget and if they control their budget, because it seemed like there were a lot of expenditures in accounts payable this month where they're buying a TV and buying a bunch of different things, and I don't know if it fits into the budget. So I'm just raising that question. If you look at revenues, we're looking at probably about $184,000, little over $184,000 shortfall. because we don't have the Big Ben services. And if you extrapolate the rest of the numbers, it looks like they're gonna have about an $85,000 shortfall just on where they are today, or at the end of the quarter. On the expense side, they're, again, extrapolating the numbers, they're gonna be over budget by about 43,000 on salaries. And it looks like they're gonna be over budget about another 18,000 on utilities. And they're already well over, well over that 25%. So I just want to call your attention to some of these things. I don't know who's looking at some of these numbers, and just making sure that we're in line for budget.
I pretty much had the same thoughts originally. The only caveat that I had on it was, I don't know how much of that is front-loaded, as opposed to extrapolating it out,
Right, but I kind of looked at that too.
And so I didn't see it looking too bad.
But I pulled out the numbers that looked like it was front.
Yeah.
And,
That is clearly the chief's
Yeah, it's,
responsibility, I believe.
and Trustee DeGrave, I just want to let you know, all department heads, they get their individual budgets so that they can really focus on their budgets. And
But do they get these monthly reports?
absolutely, absolutely, they're emailed to them and it's in their boxes. I know John is very religious.
I don't have a problem.
Right, right. And then Dan, the reason this one was late, there was staffing and illness, and you'll have your April and the next board meeting, your April financials. And the other thing too is I want to send to you, since Howard has your, the financial report, I want to send his trial balance and our trial balance so you can see, and then an updated December of 2021 based on the audited numbers. So that'll be in your packet next.
right, and on the revenue side, the Life Quest those numbers you see there is cash basis, not accrual basis. That's all I can say. Dan, I know you understand the difference. The cash coming in January and February on an accrual basis is last year's money.
The other thing too, the fire department,
And then the numbers that are no, this is cash basis.
you'll get more money, Dan. It's kind of lags behind like 3 or 4 months on the cash on the Life Quest.
Yeah.
And the fire department is coming. Remember, we're going to discuss that, the policies on reimbursements, and that's something, Dan, we could put on the staff agenda when the chief is here for staff, asking about, and maybe you want to see April too, to see how that is too. But that's something you could bring up with Alex when he's here for staff meeting.
Right, the salaries I thought were, March 31, that's about roughly 25% of the year, and they were 27%. So I wasn't too concerned. I wasn't too concerned about that or the revenue side, because we,
There were a
contracts,
couple, though,
yeah.
that they were already
the utilities, I didn't understand the utility thing.
Yeah.
For example.
over the budget for the whole year.
Right.
Now, they weren't big numbers necessarily, as I remember, but that shouldn't happen. Not this early in the year.
Just wondering, I just want to look at that, just make sure that furnace wasn't coded to a utility account. Remember they had that, we just replaced that furnace up? I'm going to double check that.
Oh, as a.
Yeah, anytime you mention something, I'll research it.
Right. Right, and I know some capital outlays between DPW and the lunchroom were miscoded too, that, I don't know if you got those fixed up yet. But
I'll check those.
yeah.
because even in Sean developing, we budgeted 21,000 in 2020-21 for Sean to do the zoning code, and he didn't start till late, but about 4,000 of that was in 2022. It got it, coded back to 2021 because they're also behind on their billing. Not behind, but they're not concurrent. When we get a January bill, it's for November.
Right.
As it,
That's always happened.
and the legal fees too.
That's always the case.
So trustee DeGrave, all that stuff will be in your next packet too, so there'll be a lot of financial stuff.
Other discussion, it's on the agenda to discuss, but. Okay, should we move on? Minutes. April 21, 2022, there was just,
Mr. President, all the changes you requested have been made, and including that additional,
that little appointment
right.
there
All those changes have been made.
have been made. So I'll make a motion to approve the Monday, April 21, 2022 Vernon Board meeting minutes as
Corrected.
revised.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, village meeting dates. May 19th, 2 weeks, our regular village board meeting, 7 o'clock. May 11th, as mentioned before, our plan commission. May 26th, staff meeting at 1:30. We will have that special board of review meeting starting at 1:15 just to essentially adjourn to a time and date later. July 7th, as mentioned earlier by Karen, is the open book begins for residents, and board of review would be July 26th, 6 to 8 p.m. That's our statutorily required 2-hour meeting, and we will see how many cases we need to hear.
Question.
I don't remember which one it's for, but do we have enough members that are,
Yes. Under this law, only one has to be certified,
oh,
but
it's just one?
only one, but Lorene is certified, Dan's certified, you're certified, and Carl's certified. Plus, I'm gonna order a new video because the DOR has updated that, so I'm gonna order you a new DVD that relates to the newest portion of Board of Review, so board members can review that also at their leisure.
How long does that certification last? 'Cause I didn't
2
do it
years.
this year, I did it last year.
It lasts 2 years,
Oh, okay.
so you're good. You're all good. But I just want to get you that tape, not that you have to, but it's always nice to see what the new changes in the laws are, so that you're aware of that. So I'll order that DVD, and then we'll just share it. When one's done, we'll give it to the next person, if that's okay. Is that good?
Always an update, always helps.
Yep,
And we don't have, and we've got till July 26th as
Right.
scheduled, so we have time to, we don't have to rush and do it next week, for example. Okay, so now we are on to item 11, and I will make a motion to go in closed session as stated in the agenda and as read by me earlier this evening. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion requires a roll call vote.
President Carl Fortner,
Yes.
trustees Jim Solani,
Yes.
Daniel DeGrave, Dylan Newman,
Yes.
Lorene Dashik.
Yes.
Mr. President, I'm going to note for the record that your village board has consented to go into closed session by voice vote unanimously at 8:25 p.m.
Okay, we will take a 5-minute break and convene in closed session for the benefit of the public. No action will be taken in closed session. We may come out and take action as listed in the agenda, and quite possibly, we will adjourn in closed session. So, with that, we'll see everybody at 8:30.
Hey, Karen. Karen,
Yes, sir.
I'll send you the employee manual